Hello and welcome to another special edition of Riverside Reports. I have another fantastic interview for you this week. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stephen Menon. I am the head of news here at Riverside Radio, and this week I sat down with Danny Collier. Now, Danny Collier is part owner of a family-owned company called Collier's Launches. They're a riverboat company, and they actually have several little slices of history in their company. Most notably, Princess Frida, who was involved in Operation Dynamo. Now, like every other company out there, they have been disproportionately affected by coronavirus. The pandemic has stripped them of their livelihood. It has stopped them from being able to operate in their busiest part of the year. And I sat down with Danny to chat about some of the challenges and some of the history of the company. I hope you enjoy the interview. Tell us all about Collier's Launches, how it started, when it began.
Okay, so it started. My father founded the business really in the early 70s. He was a lightsman, worked in the lightering industry, came ashore, wasn't sort of too keen on that aspect, decided to go back afloat again. We've been operating a passenger boat service since the early 1980s, running from Westminster through Kew Gardens, Richmond and Hampton Court. We carry about 60,000 passengers a year. A lot of tourists, a lot of regulars. It's quite a popular route going into West London. It's the only boat company that does it. I do it with my brother, John. I've been working afloat since 75, him just a little bit late, about sort of 79/80. We're both captains, both Thames watermen. And we pretty much took the business over from my dad in, I'd say, probably mid-90s.
Am I correct in thinking you now have 4 boats in your fleet? Like, how long did that take? Did you have 4 boats when you took over the company from your father?
No, initially we had a boat called Clifton Castle, and she was built in 1926 on the River Dart, and she came to the Thames for a company called Watford's. During the war, she was seconded by the Royal Navy and did most of her work up in Scotland. And then Connaught's, which is one of the Salter's steamers, a very famous company on the Thames. Lovely boat. I think she's pretty much my favourite boat. We've all got our favourites, my brother and myself, and my family generally. And then we bought probably the most famous of them all. Really is Princess Frida. She's a Dunkirk little ship. When we bought her, she was in a pretty bad state of disrepair. It's been quite neglected. We rebuilt her over a period of about 18, it's getting on for about 18 months, something like that. I can't remember exactly. And subsequently took her to Dunkirk in 2005, had some veterans aboard, which was fabulous to interact with them and hear their story, quite hair-raising, frankly.
The veterans you took to these celebrations, the commemorations of Operation Dynamo, had any of them actually been rescued from Dunkirk?
All of them had been rescued. The ones I remember particularly, Michael Bentle, who we took in 2015, was an orphan and he'd been brought up by the Bentle family, so that kind of resonates with the people that are listening. The Bentle family at Kingston, and he was on a retreat through Belgium. Subsequently, ended up in Dunkirk. He was rescued, and another chap called Garth Wright. Both lovely gentlemen. They were in the 90s and still pretty sprightly and full of conversation and reminiscences that, as I said, would put your hair stand on end.
Go back, you said you basically rebuilt Princess Frida, the Dunkirk little ship. I assume you've done a lot of work on the other boats as well. Can you quantify in terms of man hours and money how much you've actually invested into these boats?
When we Queen Elizabeth, which is one of our other boats, before the Diamond Jubilee, we spent, I don't really like talking figures, but we spent close on £100,000 redoing a section which was almost direct. When we stripped her back, we could find the original steering position in what was a teak deck. So kind of labour of love. I mean, certainly with Princess Frida, slightly different with the Princess Frida because of given her history. That really was a labour of love with an end product as well, something we were keen to do. But Yeah, the thing is with these historic vessels, because they sit on the National Historic Ship Register, all 4 of the vessels, is that they're I would call them national treasures, especially Princess Frida, no question about it. And I don't really regard myself as the owner. I'm sort of more of a custodian. That's the way I see it, because it's a transient thing. It's not, I don't physically feel like an owner. I feel like I'm sort of somebody that's been going to be involved with her for hopefully many years, and then pass on to somebody else, and hopefully they'll love it as much as we do.
Fantastic. So let's get to the crux of the problem then, the reason why we're talking. Coronavirus is obviously, it's left so many things up in the air, but why is it particularly precarious for you guys as a river mooring company?
Okay, so we're a seasonal business, so we earn normally, under normal circumstances, we earn the bulk of our money between March and October. There's obviously a busy section of that March to October. I wouldn't say fallow. March and October are just tick over, and then the rest of the time you've got the aspect of the children being on holiday and what have you. We haven't even started our season. When lockdown came, we had all the expenses of licensing the vessels, putting all the safety equipment back aboard, getting them ready literally to rock at the end of March, beginning of April. We haven't even had that. It looks increasingly likely that we're not going to get a season, or if we do, it's going to be a very small portion of it as we go out the other end of a season. Given the social distancing aspect, I really can't see physically how that's going to work. We estimated recently, when we were sitting as my brother and myself, that we could possibly seat in Princess Frida is the smallest vessel. She's 20 meters long. We reckon that you could seat maybe 6 people in the saloon. We couldn't use the saloon as a bar, because how can you serve people with that 2 meter aspect? Even if that was reduced to the European model of 1.5 meters, that would still prove a problem. Top deck, maybe 10 people. Front deck, maybe 4. So the boat carries 130 passengers. On a busy day, we'll have 100 people. That's what I go to work for. That's those busy days, and that's what keeps us ticking over as a business, and a viable, reasonably successful business. Even our biggest boat would struggle to carry 30 people, I reckon.
So a lot of our viewers now will be kind of scratching their heads confused, because they'll be saying, but there are all these small business loans and grants that are available. Can you talk us through how you've fallen through the cracks in these nets, essentially?
Okay, so we pay Port London Authority. They run from their area of jurisdiction is from Teddington down into the Thames estuary. So we come under their umbrella. We pay moorings, and we pay what they call riverworks licenses to operate, or ownership of Kew in Richmond. One's a landing stage, one's a pier. So they physically sit on the riverbed. So we pay our monies to Port London Authority. Another proportion of that goes to Crown Estates, because part of the riverbank is owned by Crown Estates. So we don't pay business rates. We don't pay business rates at all. So that's where we're falling through the cracks. So far we haven't had access to business loans. My brother's has been predominantly dealing with that aspect. So far, there's been no joy. Nobody's getting back to us, and that's not through want of trying.
And I apologize for asking you bluntly, but what happens to you? What happens to the boats if this does come to pass and you can't secure loans, or there is no change in legislation?
I think I don't know. Scrap. Given that this is not just my company, there are other companies as well. Not just Thames. Before Thames is going to be UK wide. I've already seen one particular company on the Thames, not so very far from where we are now in Isleworth, who has put all his vessels up for sale. because obviously he can see the writing on the wall. But who's going to buy them, and what are they going to use them for at this stage? Unless they buy them, very cheaply.
The most important question of all: how can the community help? How can they come to your aid here?
I've started a crowdfunder. It's called Mayday Save Our Sink. There's lots of puns falling in here, but falling is another one. Don't fall in. It's a bit too cold at the moment, but our website is collierslaunches.co.uk. You can go to that, or Mayday, the crowdfunder Mayday Save Our Sinking Business. So I'll take this opportunity, if you don't mind, to thank all those people who have supported us, and there's been a great deal of support from all walks, all river users. There's been fantastic support from them, and for the donations as well. Some people have gone over and above, frankly. I mean, there's a lot of love out there, I have to say, and I'd like to thank them from the bottom of my heart, really, for the support they've offered us. It's been brilliant. And for anybody who wants to donate, I'd like to thank them as well, or support us, retweet or repost or what, share or what have you. Whatever you can do I'll be eternally grateful.
Now, for those of you watching thinking, how can I help? The link to donate to his company is in the box below. I encourage you to go and follow it now. I implore you to go and follow it now. Give £5, give £10, give whatever you can. As he said in the video, if they can't keep their heads above water, there is a very real possibility that these boats could be scrapped, and we would lose these little slices of history for good, which would be a travesty. Now, in the box below, you will also find all of our social media handles. You'll find Collier's Launch's website, and because of my vanity, you'll find my social media handles. Please follow all of them. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you do not miss any of our fantastic content. And if you want to hear more of South West London's news, be sure to tune in to riversideradio.com/listen every single Friday at 6 p.m. to listen to Riverside Reports.